reminding us.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 7 o'clock, and normally we would be opening this meeting for the regularly scheduled Water Pollution Control Authority meeting for April 22nd. However, we have one more person we need for a quorum. We're waiting for them to arrive, so we're going to pause the opening of the meeting until that person arrives, and we will keep you plugged in as soon as we see that person. So for now, we're just going to stay on hold. We hear footsteps, though.
There he is.
Okay.
Sorry.
Our quorum has arrived. We are now in possession of a proper quorum, and we can call to order the regularly scheduled Water Pollution Control Authority meeting for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. And first item of business is going to be the approval of the March 18th, 2026 minutes.
Motion to approve. Seconded.
Motion is seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion is carried, so we have approval of minutes. And now we're on to old business. To hear, consider, and act on a sewer connection request, 730 and 770 Commerce Drive. This was previously heard on September 17th, 2025, December 17th, 2025, January 21st, 2026, and February 18th, 2026, along with March 18th, 2026. With decision tabled pending the town and WPCA's commission position regarding encumbrance of the WPCA easement. A proposed modified easement is presented for this commission's consideration and decision. So do we have guests here that are going to speak for 730 and 770?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for the record, my name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'm an attorney in Fairfield with the law firm of Russo and Rizzio. I'm here tonight representing 730 Commerce Drive LLC, which owns the property at 730 Commerce Drive and 770 Commerce Drive. The principals of 730 Commerce Drive LLC are Ari and Nico Kudavides. Ari Kudavides is here with me tonight. The properties in question have been the subject of applications to the Town Plan and Zoning Commission, which unanimously approved a mixed-use project at the site consisting of 90 for-rent apartments and approximately 4,300 square feet of street-level retail space. The project will include a public art component at the corner of Commerce Drive and Kings Highway. The property owner has made application to the WPCA for approval of connection to the sanitary sewer system. The applicant has negotiated with the town attorney at great length with input from the WPCA staff. Both parties have acted in good faith, and we have reached a mutually acceptable amended easement, which has been submitted by the town attorney to the WPCA. The amended easement addresses a number of different issues. It relocates the easement to include a portion of the existing sewer line which is outside the existing easement. It widens the easement from 10 feet to 20 feet in the accessible easement area. It adds a temporary laydown and staging area for on-site sewer repairs, and it permits new construction over a portion of the existing easement of approximately 80 feet. The amended easement has been reviewed and approved by the applicant and has been reviewed and approved by the town attorney and my understanding by the WPCA staff as well. As a result, the applicant is requesting that the amended easement and the request to connect to the sewer system be approved. My clients are here with me today, as well as the project engineer, Robert Pryor. We would be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Thank you, Bill. Does the commission have any questions that we want to pose? Yes, sir.
This has been reviewed through town attorney staff and approved through town attorney
At
staff?
great length, yes.
Yes. And all parties are in agreement with this final easement agreement?
Yes.
Correct. The modified easement was reviewed by myself as well as town legal counsel, and we are in agreement.
Any other questions among the commission?
Hang on 1 second, please. I make a motion to allow the proposed development at 730 and 770 Commerce Drive, comprised of 75 studio, 15 two-bedroom units, around approximately 6,500 square feet of retail / office and amenity square footage use to connect to the Fairfield sewer system. The approval will be valid for 2 years from today. After 2 years, the applicant must reapply for the extended approval. If an extension of time is requested, the WPCA at its sole discretion may require an updated sewer capacity analysis. The applicant will be required to pay the I&I fees in effect at the time the permits are issued, and the fixed I&I will be waived for the project if the permits are issued within the initial 2-year approval.
Seconded.
Just as a question, is that correct? Because you have 4,313 square feet of commercial retail and 2,181 square feet of office amenities. Then it says the existing commercial building and okay, nope, I'm reading that wrong. So I just want to make sure at least it's.
I think you have it correct.
Okay.
Any other questions or further discussion on the motion?
The only question I had is that after reading it there is that, so we're in agreement of this. Is this document signed yet?
No, it is not signed yet. It has to be approved first.
Yes. Okay.
Pending this commission's decision.
Pending this, okay, so then it will be signed. So should the motion have pending, or I guess does it really matter? Should it be
Pending signature?
pending? No, or I don't know how you're going to do it, but is it like, I don't want all of a sudden say, if something blows up and say, I'm not going to sign it, we approved it.
Well, if the commission has approved it, and I know my clients are happy, there should be no
Signature.
difficulty in having it executed.
Signature, I think, automatically follows it, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking. I'm just trying to,
But you're right.
But I don't think it's an issue.
I hope not.
You're right, but
But you never know.
No, not as much as I hope.
That's what we all, we're just saying,
Approved pending,
Final execution by,
we'll allow the proposed development with accompanying easement agreement to connect to the Fairfield sewer system. So I think we should put in with the accompanying sewer agreement on this language here. So can I,
and if within 30 days such document is not, or 60 days, whatever is appropriate, such document is not signed, then you have to.
if nothing's signed, it's
Okay.
nothing happens.
right.
Can I amend it?
Let's add that to the motion. Can we do that? All right, so
Okay.
compliant to,
Yeah, to allow the proposed development with an accompanying amended and restated easement agreement at 730 and 770 Commerce
and
Drive.
we have a second on this motion already, as amended? Okay. All right, all in favor of the motion as amended? We have Ron, and we're good to go, right?
Good.
yeah.
Okay. Motion is carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Moving on to point number 2 for old business. To hear, consider, and act on a sewer connection request and determination of the I&I fee for 980 High Street. Previously heard, considered, and approved on October 23rd, 2019. Reheard on February 18th, 2026. The decision tabled pending the applicant's acquisition and assessment of additional flow monitoring data. The applicant has paid an initial installment of the I&I fee equal to the 2019 I&I fee of $103,000. Here to present for this case is,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Brian Leclerc. I'm an attorney with Bertram Moses. And I'm here with Emily Jones, our professional engineer from Civil One, and Carol Martin, the executive director of the Housing Authority. And again, we represent in this case the Fairfield Housing Corporation, which is a 501c3 tax-exempt organization that has one and only one owner, the Fairfield Housing Authority. The Fairfield Housing Authority is the town's housing authority under the Connecticut General Statutes. And again, it owns the corporation and does business for the title Fairfield Housing Corporation. And this is 980 High Street. And as you heard, that is correct. Back in 2019, this commission approved connection to the town's sewerage system and set a fee of $103,000, which we've paid, I believe, I know we've paid since the last meeting. And since that first approval in 2019, we've gotten all the other approvals we needed: zoning, conservation. We had an appeal that was resolved, so we are good to go. Civil One went back and did the additional flow monitoring at your request following the last meeting. They've determined the watershed, and the sewer shed, I should call it, is largely unchanged. No significant development in the sewer shed area. They took a very conservative sampling analysis and protocol, tested the same two locations we did last time, which were the ones selected by the staff at that time back in 2019, and determined the project will not negatively impact the capacity of the system. And I do note that when the sampling was done this time, not only do we have a significant rain event, there was also snow melt occurring. There was an accumulation of snow, which adds even more water to the system, but it's not measured because it's not a rain event. And again, it's a conservative approach taken, which Emily could talk about if you'd like. The engineers have determined there will be a negligible impact on the sanitary sewer system and that the system in the area has adequate capacity to convey the proposed flows. You folks did have a review performed by Wright Pierce, which our engineers took a look at, and they found an issue with a coefficient applied by Wright Pierce in determining the 80% capacity under your regulations. I know Ms. Gore also reviewed that and can comment on that. We have a correspondence of April 13 we submitted to Ms. Gore, in which Mr. Baker of Civil One, Emily's colleague, discusses this capacity. And without getting too techie, they conclude that the existing system post-development will continue to function without exceeding capacity thresholds. So in 2019, we used a 0.012 N value in doing the calculations. The National Clay Pipe Institute states that N values between 0.009 and 0.0013 should be used. We went on the high side. We went to 0.0112. Even if we apply the highest number that the Clay Pipe Institute says should be used, the 0.013, we're still under 80% with the flow threshold. So we did calculate it using that number as well. And we would thus ask you to approve this project. I also wanted to discuss one additional request. So I don't know if you had any questions of the engineer first. We could pause there, or I could just finish.
no, are we satisfied that we're still under 80?
So I just have a question. Wright Pierce looked at some different factors. And I just want to know, is Wright Pierce in agreement? Or are we satisfied that Wright Pierce agrees?
Wright Pierce isn't making a recommendation, but Wright Pierce provides an evaluation of the calculation at different Manning's end numbers. Manning's end is an estimate of the roughness of the pipe. And that is within a range, just as what was presented here. Depending on what reference you use, that range could slightly differ.
0.12 to 0.13.
And a tenth to 100th change in that number can make a big difference in the actual number that is produced from the calculation. And you see that in the calculations that both Wright Pierce produced and that the applicant's engineering firm produced. So Wright Pierce did provide, at the range they used, the calculation at each one of those numbers within the range. When they're using the lower end of the range, the number does come under our 80% threshold. So there's quite a bit of subjectivity. when it comes to the Manning-Zen coefficient. I think that in this segment of our infrastructure, we are very, very close to the 80%. I'm not saying I don't recommend the commission approve this request, because quite honestly,
Right on
there's
the
been
limit.
consistency in flow data from 2019 to 2026, and in 2026, it was actually lower. So maybe something we're doing upstream when it comes to repairs to our infrastructure is actually helping this section of our main. But that being said, we do need to note this as we move forward for additional requests to add to the capacity of this segment of our system. And it's also something that we're flagging internally, the utility, as we move forward with our I&I investigation and repairs.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And I think too, is kind of to add to yours, just so, you know, as a commission, because it's right on the line. I think we have to look at the whole picture, whereas like when you look at it where they did the monitoring, it was upstream, it was 8-inch pipe, and then right underneath the highway, there's a 10-inch. So it's like, it's not constricted all the way down, so you have that. So I think we really got to look at this as a kind of a broad spectrum, not in, and also interpreting the N coefficient, like kind of that range there, because I don't want to be sitting here caught where someone else comes to us and said, well, you approved them, but now you got to approve me. And I think we really got to make note here is that it's up to the commission and their purview on a couple, you know, on what to look at. And I think also we have to look that there is another item going on, not just the N coefficient, but also the downstream pipe opens up to a 10-inch pipe right downstream of that. And if we go test that, you'll be fine. So I just want to put that on record.
Someone else
just
has
so
the
at
8-inch.
least, just so at least we're leaving it up to our kind of purview where we're not approving it. We're not just messing with we're not adjusting the numbers here.
Correct.
We're looking at it through a whole wide range here.
Correct, that's important. That is really important to record for the record in the administrative process of decision-making for this one. And also something for the commission to consider is the placement of flow meters. And so again, for consistency purposes, when the flow metering was most recently performed in 2026, the applicant was advised to utilize the same placement as was previously that informed the commission's 2019 decision. At that point in time, the commission was not utilizing an engineering service to assist with determining the placement of flow meters. That was something that was determined by sewer department staff, is my understanding. Our engineering service did make a recommendation that the flow meters in this case may be capturing actually more flow from other sources than was necessary for this evaluation. So it is a bit conservative in that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's well noted.
I think the Manning's coefficient is also just one of many subjective,
Yeah,
right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
like,
I know, they're calculations, but there's still, you know, that, I think a really interesting part of this study was showing how your system has held up over the years. You know, we were expecting consistent flows, but to have them actually sort of reduced and, you know, so certainly your system is functioning as intended. You're not having a massive infiltration issue. And so just for that, you know, it was beneficial, obviously.
And after 7
to
years.
you guys.
Time.
Right. So we use the same Manning's number in both instances. You could go lower, you could go higher. Ours was sort of right in the middle. You could go a little higher and still not be, you know, there. So yeah, there's sort of some best engineering practices that go into it. This development itself has a very small impact on the sewer shed in the area, really hardly any. So I think you'll see it continue to function essentially as it does today.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments that we want to raise at the commission level?
Are you still presenting?
I was going to comment on the fee, so I don't
It's
know
an
if you
I&I
want,
determination.
so-
or you want to vote separately.
I'm sorry, 103.
I think it all should be on one vote.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. And again, we have one additional request, as you know, and as I indicated, the Fairfield Housing Corporation is a not-for-profit corporation. And this project is for affordable housing, but it's different than most what we usually see in Fairfield for affordable housing, because I call this an upside down project. Usually developers come in with just a low percentage of the units as affordable, and the rest are market rate units. We're the opposite. Virtually all the units are going to be affordable in this case, and that makes the numbers much different in being able to do a development where most of your units are affordable. It's opposite what we usually see. We're funding this under the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Program, which is a federal program for funding. And we also have public money, significant public money involved, both the state of Connecticut bond financing and financing from the town of Fairfield, which came out of the Housing Fund. And we're requesting an abatement because when we planned the project and when we got the initial approval, we used that $103,000 number as the fee we would need. And frankly, we don't have the money right now for that. And that becomes a bit problematic in getting it. Nothing's changed. No more units, no more effluent, no more bathrooms, no more common facilities have been made. It's the same project that was approved with 103. And we'd ask for an abatement. And I have something to submit, which I don't know if you have copies of. It's a correspondence from Mark Barnhart, our Director of Community and Economic Development in Fairfield, co-signed by the Chairman of the Affordable Housing Committee. I'm going to approach and once the record, and then I don't know how you I guess pass them around. And you have people that are remote, so perhaps if I could read this in for the. You have one? Oh, you have it all right. Do you want me to read this in for the people that are remote? Do they have it? Or did you know?
They do have an electronic copy.
I can read. If you want me, I'll read it in just so it's clear for the record. Again, dear commissioners, and this is signed by Mark Barnhart and Herb Lemkuehler. Dear Commissioners, we are writing in support of the Fairfield Housing Corporation's request for a partial abatement of the inflow and infiltration fee. Some members may no doubt recall that the Affordable Housing Committee made a similar request on behalf of Habitat for Humanity of coastal Fairfield County, with whom the town was working to create 4 units of affordable housing, homeownership housing at 244 Greenfield Street. That project has now been completed thanks in part to your support. While no two projects are alike, the rationale behind this request is much the same, in that the Fairfield Housing Corporation's project at 980 High Street is intended to provide much-needed affordable housing. This project is a publicly financed project receiving considerable support from federal, state, and local sources, including $570,000 allocation from the town's Housing Trust Fund. We understand that the WPCA is facing significant costs to upgrade its system, which it is seeking to finance in part through the supplemental inflow and infiltration fee. We trust that in its deliberations, the WPCA will work to balance those demands against the very real need to create more affordable housing opportunities through a project that is already receiving significant public financing. Thank you, as always, for your consideration and support. Sincerely yours. So I just want to put in the record that correspondence, because it's powerful, and it talks about the issues we are having with the $123,224 shortfall in the funding, and hence our request for an abatement of that amount of money. And we have paid, I've indicated, since we've come back, the $103,000 from the project budget.
So the amount of abatement is that you were requesting is the 123?
123, the increase since the last time.
So the fee as of 2026 is $226,224 per our current INI.
So the difference
policy.
is 103, that is the full amount less 103?
126.
It was 126, 224. It used to be 103.
123.
So one question I have for Michelle is the original amount was already baked into your budget?
We never got it. I don't know if it was ever baked into the budget.
As an income, or was it not baked into the budget? It wasn't collected, so it wouldn't be.
It was
Considered
appealed,
income.
so it was never, because they have to be paid when the building permit's issued. Nothing was built.
We haven't made this a specific consideration in our revenue sources.
Right. In the history of abatement requests in the past, we've had very few of these. None that I can remember in my time on the commission.
Yeah, the only one I you know, and I don't know if this was before my time or what, but it was the Habitat for Humanity houses. And also too is that we've also taken over the pump station from the affordable over at
Right.
by Roger
For the
Ludlow
Habitat.
High School for that. That was another low income kind of that, and I think that was it was in support. The town was in support of that. So, you know, it's kind of like we're robbing Peter to pay Paul because now the town gave their money and it's kind of one hand to the next. So. I don't want, you know, as long as we have the purview to do this, I just don't want everyone to come through here and say, well, we're building 30% affordable, we want an abatement now too.
I think an important aspect is the publicly financed piece of this. I believe in a previous meeting where 980 High Street presented on this topic, I had reviewed what the Connecticut general statutes allow for WPCAs in setting fees. And that's fairly flexible. It requires the commission to evaluate fees that are fair and reasonable charges. So it's very open. Our I&I abatement policy specifically has loose language in it. We could go through and read that one section of our policy which speaks about what we are required to collect. And one suggestion I have, regardless of what the commission's decision is this evening on this topic specifically, we should consider a modification to the I&I abatement policies language when it comes to this.
So it's more tightly written.
Yes.
Yeah.
And our policy is promulgated into rule, so that would be a public hearing process. So the way our policy, this part of our policy reads now, it states any property that increases its development over its existing status, resulting in an increased effluent discharge to the sanitary sewer system. And when such discharge is over and above the existing discharge, the property will be subject to all or part of the following requirements: flow analysis, improvement to the downstream system, I&I abatement fees.
I think it's loosely worded enough so it gives us leeway.
The precedent, the Habitat for Humanity example, do we know what percentage abatement was given? Because roughly right, I think you're asking for 55%.
Yeah, we're asking for an abatement of the new amount since the last application.
Right, but
It's about 50, yeah, I'm not good with math, it's 50, I'd say 55.
55% is a big,
I'll defer to the engineer, the math.
yeah. Sorry. Am I in the right ballpark? Yes. That's a staggering amount for me. That's a staggering
But then again, if they didn't get appealed, they would have been building this in 2019. So
That's what tripped up the project, yeah.
I hear you on that,
Mhm.
but then again, you had 5 years of appeals, 6 years of appeals going through courts. So I'm sure your court costs were significant also, and not baked into the budget. You know, and I could see where if it was a new project, if they're waiving the I&I fees, I think that would be a little bit different, but we already proved it. We kind of said, yeah, this is great. You got enough capacity, Here it is.
Go ahead and build it.
Go ahead and build it. They're not saying reduce that amount. They're saying, can we go back to that amount? We got appealed. What do you want us to do? And then here we are sitting in Connecticut, and all we're talking about is an affordability crisis. And we're the ones that are sitting here saying they should pay more.
And the money will come out of one pocket of the town and go to the other pocket of the town.
So
It's not a
it's
commercial
like,
operation.
it's, as a developer, every little bit counts. And the thing is that everyone takes their little piece of the pie and increases it, it kills the projects. So, it's, if we're trying to get affordable housing, I think we all gotta bend a little bit too.
I agree with everything 100%. But I think it's a legislative body decision, not a utility body decision in my opinion. Because everything you said about every dollar counts, it's totally true for the developers and it's totally true for the taxpayers. It's equally true. And, if we do not collect the fees here, that's a hole that has to be filled. The other contributors to the sewer fees, or we're asking the town for more money, or we're just doing less upgrades. Like, it's not free.
It's I&I, so it's new development, so we have an I&I budget, so if that's not in our, let's just say, general budget, that's in our I&I budget where we use it to
Separate category, yeah.
do upgrades, fix this, do that. Is that,
So it should be a straight use of I&I revenue being used to repair and rehab and investigate our piping system.
Right. So, Chris, everything you're saying is right. And I would love in a different forum to support this. I'm having trouble supporting it in this forum because this is the Pollution Control Authority.
But the rules we're operating under actually permit us to do this today.
They don't prevent us, that's for sure. Right? It's just
They don't prevent us.
unspecified.
Right.
Does it say anywhere that we're allowed to waive fees at our discretion? Or is it just vague?
All or part.
All or part.
And in this case, it would equivalent to be part, because it's still a portion. It's
I think
45% of the.
I think that would
total.
give us leeway.
Yeah. Yeah. Ron, any comments or questions?
Yeah, I read this at home, and I'm all for it, to be honest with you. But I think that because of the I&I fee, we've gone through this for 7 years or something like that. I mean, it's been a while. Whatever we do, I want to freeze it so it's not to exceed. So, if the top number is 103,000, okay, not to exceed that. So we got to put ourselves in a position where, I don't know if you've ever seen any of these home channels where they're building a house or doing something and, oh, wait a minute, the furnace has to be replaced or whatever. It just seems like money not growing on trees here right now. And I think that we have to kind of tighten ourselves up, so that we don't get stuck in a position where we're halfway there and you need another $500,000.
But
So
like
that's
Ron, it's really, the fee would be $226,000 if it was applied today, and they're requesting it as the old fee at $103,000. So we kind of know what the numbers are. So as not to exceed, that would be a little tough.
I just got confused there because I didn't see. I only saw the October 23rd, the February 18th, and the 2009 numbers, the 19 numbers.
Yeah.
Right, correct us if I'm wrong, but you're going to be on the hook for the 103.
Absolutely.
And
we paid that.
we know that up front, Ron. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So it's really the
Okay.
difference is that like what is like what Ted's saying as a WPCA, the fee is the fee, and kind of should we be looking at that's the fee that we are today? That's kind of what we have in our numbers. We really, as a commission, shouldn't bend on that. Or should we go back and say, as the 2019, should we go back to those numbers at 103? So the difference is $123,000 difference between today and 2019. That's the difference that we're talking about here, Ron. So it's really,
Okay.
and I think it almost depends on what your thoughts are, because if we bake this into the approval,
Creates a precedent.
it could be, create a precedent, but also, I don't know, depends on how everyone wants to vote, because I would hate to bake this I fee abatement into the approval and get it denied. When we're okay, I think it sounds like we're okay with the flow data.
Right.
We're really debating
Yeah.
that, so it really depends on what your thoughts are, because if it's a tie, or if I would hate for the whole project to get denied because of this. And maybe we should break it out into two.
I think there's two questions before us. So I would be in favor of two separate motions. That would be my position. But I don't want to speak for you guys, but if you don't solve this $120,000 problem, there might not be a development, right?
It's a big problem
It's a big problem.
because of the way, especially because it's public funding. We're not a developer.
Right.
And again, it is the number. You're not really setting precedent, even though you can clearly do it in your regs, because I would never come in here and I would suggest that if someone came in and said, your fee is today this amount, but we want to pay you less, that you don't negotiate that. But when we came in with the project ready to go with the fee at that time and did all the financing off of that number, and then got stuck with some appeals, which we prevailed on, and now have the approvals, that's a little different, because we're not just, I don't think people should, no matter if it's affordable housing or not, you should pay the number that's in your regulations now. So with the public financing, the problem is, where do we get the money from? And if we have to go back and try to get it from Fairfield, it's going to come out of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which means we're going to have less affordable housing, because that's the money we've been trying to accumulate as our community for affordable housing, for stuff just like this, to your point. And that means the money's not going to be there. So it's really going out of this little pocket into this pocket, and it goes back into the general fund. But you now have less money for affordable housing.
And it's my opinion that we could make exactly the same argument, that the $120,000 would be a hole in the trust fund to upgrade and maintain the sewer system, right? So we're not solving the problem here. We're just shifting it, right? So there is a $120,000 problem, and I'm not sure that shifting it to the to something that the sewer commission has to solve for is necessarily the right way to build housing.
In a sense, looking at it, it's not really a $123,000 problem, because you don't have a bill or an expense for that we're trying to fill. These are fees to go into a fund to be used for something in the future. And it's just based on, I don't want to call it an arbitrary, but a rate schedule that's based upon how you came up with it.
I appreciate you not calling it arbitrary, because this group did spend.
No, that's why I'm not, because
Yeah.
it's not, but it's
Yeah.
not tied, it's not like it's in the sense that it's tied into, this is going to cost you $123,000 for the sewer department truck to go and make connections or do something.
that is-
That's not
That's
right.
It's
accurate.
not a hard cost, right?
That's not a hard
That is
cost,
accurate,
it's a
but-
soft, if anything.
But we are going to go out, we are going to issue bonds, the town is going to issue bonds at some point to do work that we need to do. And this is going to be an extra $120,000 that will have to be bonded, and interest will have to be paid by taxpayers at some point in time. Or it'll have to be paid by sewer users. So for me, it doesn't solve the problem at all. It just says, is the problem here, or is the problem here?
It's an unfortunate issue we have on this one project that we don't normally see, and I know you don't see this normally, because people don't have to go to through the battles that we did as a not-for-profit to just try to build affordable housing in Fairfield. Desperately, and that's
I'm with you.
the struggle. That's why it's so different. We're not a big developer, and I can't call up the investor and say, I need more money. We don't have that guy. Carol,
Question?
Yeah,
Question? If I get concerned about the amount of activity happening in Fairfield, like down there, the little pub now, they're going to usually, well, we've already approved, I guess, that one. But it's more of a, are you guys ready, shovel ready for this? So if you get approval,
started construction now.
okay. All right, that answers my question, because we're already getting our neighborhoods down there, because I live by Fairfield University, and they're concerned about Black Rock Turnpike and North Benson, and when the two shall meet, and
Those are not
they're
our
trying to
projects, for the
coordinate.
record. We have nothing to do with the one at Stilson in North Benson. We have nothing to do with the one at the community theater, La Vida's coffee shop. We have nothing to do with the one across from the new Porsche dealer, where there's a big proposal on, I forget the name of that side street by the
When you say we don't have any, I'm confused. We don't have any, we're not gonna be doing anything on any of those projects as far as,
Fairfield Housing Authority, the Fairfield Housing Corporation doesn't build all these.
Those are all commercial developments.
Those are all commercial. Those are mainly market rate, frankly expensive apartments with a few affordable.
Yeah.
We're the other side. We're the guys that are building this with mostly all affordable housing. And we have Pine Tree, that's our other development, and run a blank, see a moment.
so what about the flow analysis? Is the flow analysis separate?
We don't do a flow analysis for the Stilson Road project. Is that what you're asking?
Ron, they've done one there. They've performed it and everything, and that's kind of what we'd be voting on tonight.
They being not us. We didn't do a flow on the Stilson Road, if you're asking. That's what you're asking?
Well, what I'm finding is like, I don't even remember what the family's name is, but if you go off North Benson, right by Hanford Road, right across the street, there's a development in there, about 5 or 6 houses. And that's been there for 10 years, maybe, or more. So it's almost like these things pop up, you know?
That's, kind of our jurisdiction is if they have enough, if we have the capacity in the lines, we can't do anything about anything else. It's, do we have capacity? And if we do, that works.
Yeah. Okay, well, you've answered my question, so we can move on here.
Are we finished with comments and discussion? And then are we prepared to put forth 2 motions? I think it would make sense to break this up. One for the project and one for the abatement. So do you care to offer wording?
Yeah. I make a motion to allow the proposed development at 980 High Street, comprised of 40 total units, which consists of 18 one-bedroom, 16 two-bedroom, 6 three-bedrooms, with an existing house on the property, which includes office space and a community building. Is that correct? And the existing house I think it's going to be renovated and expanded. I'd like just to put that in the motion for it to connect to the and that comprised of how many gallons per day? 7,115 average gallons per day to connect to the Fairfield sewer system. The approval will be valid for 2 years from today. After 2 years, the applicant must reapply for the extended approval. If an extension of time is requested, the WPCA at its sole discretion may require an updated sewer capacity analysis.
So that's the motion. Any other comments or questions about the motion?
I second the motion.
Okay, now we have a seconded motion. Let's take a vote. All in favor? Okay, that passed unanimously. And now on to a second motion.
Second motion. I make a motion to
Provide an abatement or?
I make a motion to provide the applicant at 980 High Street with a I&I abatement, which would an I&I abatement of going or using the I&I fees in effect at the 2019 approval.
Do we have a second? Ron's the second. Very good. And do we have a vote? Let's take a vote.
No discussion?
Any discussion on it?
Any more discussion?
We already had our discussion, I
Yeah,
guess.
discussions?
All right. All in favor? All opposed? So we have 1 opposed?
Right.
Very good. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm sorry.
I think
A real consideration for the commission is to take a look at our INI abatement
Thank you.
policy and
Yeah.
language in that policy. It does need to be cleaned up and clarified,
Yeah.
and when we talk about precedent setting, decision made tonight, prior decision in the Habitat and Humanity case, which I have to know what the address is. I don't know what the address is. I couldn't find anything on that. Conditions when it comes to making these types of allowances on the fees.
it's a pretty wide spectrum there. Okay, moving on to, under old business, this would be item 4. Consider and decide on a date on which to hold a public hearing to address proposed modifications to WPCA's rules and regulations. A 10-day public notice period is required prior to holding the hearing.
So
Dates.
I'll give a little background, then we can talk about the dates. These are modifications to our rules and regulations to, one, further build out our street opening permit process. Now that our utility has fully assumed that permitting process, which is inclusive of compliance and enforcement from the Department of Public Works. The Department of Public Works, through the town's code, does have code in place to govern the process. We're going to add on to what's already in that part of the town code and also reference that part of the town code. Another piece of this modified rulemaking package is to clarify the sections of our regulations that speak to contractor licensing requirements. So that's what this rule package is about. One recommendation from myself is that the hearing be held just before our monthly meeting in May, and that would be on May 20th. We could hold it at 7 p.m. and then after the hearing, we could proceed on to our regularly scheduled meeting. I know we've done that in the recent past.
That sounds good. That'll be
I
May
agree.
20th.
And then we would notice the hearing by May 8th.
And that's our time allowance then. May 20th. Does that work for everyone for so technically it would be a special meeting?
Yeah. Just preceding a regular monthly meeting.
And then the regular monthly meeting would be the 27th.
Nope, it would also be on the 20th.
Oh, so just prior meeting, same night. Got it.
Yeah.
We did that a few months ago and that
We
worked.
did that
That worked just
recently.
smoothly.
That was easy.
That works. All right, so do we need a motion to set the date?
I make a motion to set the date for the public hearing to May 20th before our regularly scheduled meeting.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Very good. Okay, moving on to item number 5, operational status updates from Mr. Bodie.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Your smiling tan face is up there in the big lights.
Yeah, why am I so big? Okay, under the first is compliance, which is permits. We had 2 permits to submit recently. The first one is our NIPD's permit, which gives us the parameters to, as far as our discharge and our operating. The permit was completed by Fuss and O'Neill. It was submitted and received by DEEP on March 31st. On April 8th, we received a notice of sufficiency, which means everything is as it should be. It is now under DEEP review, which will take quite some time. The other permit is something new that the DEEP has put on treatment plants. It's an industrial storm water permit. We employed Ty and Bond to help us with that. There was a strict time limit on it, and it came down to crunch time, and I'm happy to say we e-filed that on April 8th, and just waiting to hear back as to where we go from here. The next item is facility. On March 29th, which was a Sunday, the crew arrived at the plant that morning to find water coming out the front door, which ended up being a broken water main under the building. It took a better part of the day for the contractor to find the shutoff and shut it down, which was done around 2:30 in the afternoon. It flooded most of the admin building upper floor. It also leaked down into the basement. So we have a contractor. They ripped up the carpets, did flood cuts on all the walls. We disposed of stuff that was wood and got wet. And unfortunately, all the records that we've been collecting and cataloging for the state for destruction got soaking wet. So they are being destroyed as well. And lastly, we have the collection system, which is a bypass on 40 Crystal Lane, which is off of Mill Plain Road. Aquarion called us on April 10th to say there was water leaking out of the ground. The crew was dispatched. They found a manhole buried under the ground a few inches. They jetted the line, pulled out some grease, some roots, and a 2x4, which is kind of odd. The following Tuesday or Wednesday, they went back to raise the manhole up a little bit, 2 inches, I think, to get it to ground level. And they found another piece of wood propping the cover open and a 2-inch hose going into the manhole, which they promptly removed, and then followed the hose up a hill to a home on Orchard Hill Lane and talked to the homeowner who had tied his sump pump into that manhole for a convenient drainage point. The crew did let him know that it's not illegal, but it's not in our best interest to discharge into a manhole. So he actually unplugged the sump pump and will reroute that pipe. So the crew will keep after it. We're going to flush it again and then probably have a root treatment done after July.
At least you know where the other 2x4 probably came from.
Exactly.
They don't have like two brothers in two different houses.
Well, he said, the manhole's kind of on my property, so I thought it was mine to use. So interesting take on the situation, but I'm glad to answer any questions about what I just rambled through here.
John, the documents that were destroyed, did you say that they were planning to be destroyed anyway, or were those documents
we were going through the process of cataloging everything we had, and then talking to Deep Records and asking them what should we keep, what can be digitized, what needs to stay paper. So Michelle went through quite the roundabout with them to say, listen, this is what happened, and we went through the process, and they agreed that everything got soaking wet. So it's all junk, and it's all going to be disposed.
So the Connecticut State Library actually is the regulating authority over municipal records. And as John just described, the WPCF for quite a few months now has been inventorying its voluminous records that unfortunately were being stored in the lower level of the admin building in boxes, in cardboard boxes. The records comprise mostly of operating logs, historic, laboratory logs. We had some payroll stuff down there. We had work orders. A lot of that type of documentation is not on an existing municipal schedule, we found. Connecticut Deep does speak to records disposition in its water discharge regulations. And again, the regulations are not written very clearly. When we did ask Deep in regards, at least for the operating and chemistry lab logs, they said, keep whatever you've got for as long as you keep it. So we've worked through the state we actually have to get formal disposal authorization for records, regardless if they were damaged or not. And we just recently received the approval and we're able to move forward.
So there's no negative implications or no immediate negative implications?
Operational, this was all historic documentation. And since that time, we've moved forward to digital primarily. And active paper logs were not being stored in that part of the admin building.
Thank you.
Thankfully. So we have, I think it was 88 linear feet of records that are being destroyed, that were damaged.
Okay.
Interesting that you have paper stored in a basement in a flood zone,
Where else are you going to store it?
the attic.
Do we have an attic? We got a
No,
room.
we don't have an attic.
To carry all that paper up to the attic.
Yeah.
I understand. That sounds like, all things considered, not a big loss. Okay.
Thank you, John. Anything else?
It's not on the agenda, and I might get chastised by somebody in the room, but the flusher is in Pennsylvania. It is being driven up to our vendor in Wallingford to add the few things that need to be added. So I'm going to say in May, we're going to have it, and I'll update then.
As long as we get a ride on it.
Yep, sure. Come on down.
Very good. So that's our operational status on section 5. Moving to 6, capital improvement project updates and funding from Michelle.
So I'll just run through the list and take any questions or comments when I've run through items 1 through 7, if that's favorable to the board. For the Fairfield Beach Pump Station in Forest Main, the utility released its first formal public outreach notification just on Monday. We'll also produce that same notification, but on slightly abbreviated form in tomorrow's town newsletter. So take a look for that. The Monday notification went out specifically to RTM districts 9 and 10, so most affected by the area where the pump station is located. We also just completed a neighborhood aesthetics and context study with our architectural firm, Geddes, and we're reviewing the results. Geddes provided us a presentation last week. Myself, if I could speak for engineering as well, we were very impressed by the context study and the results. It was exactly what we were hoping to see. I'll be excited to bring it to this commission in the near future. Our utilities coordination is underway for the project, and also hazardous building materials when it comes to assessing the level of PCB contamination of the wet well. And so that's going to be an important component for us structurally moving forward. The 60% design drawing set for that pump station that Ty and Bond has presented relies upon that subsurface structure as the basis for the elevated station. We suspect that we're going to be able to utilize that to support the elevated structure. But again, we're looking for the full assessment for what needs to be done to remove the PCB contamination. For the Mill River Force Main, we're proceeding with test pits next month. This required some tree removal that took a little back and forth time with the contractor and working with our town's conservation departments. But that's been approved and moving forward. That project was delayed again, really because of the inclement weather, the cold winter that we had. Center Street, Forest Main still on schedule for a summer 2026 bid. We did replace pumps, or at least that was underway as of last week. John, I don't know if you had any updates on that. I know you were out of the office during part of that replacement.
I reached out to the contractor today. They're hoping to start that project by the middle of next week. They had a few questions with flight that they were waiting to get answered, so should start next week. And they said 3 days to complete both pumps.
Thanks. For our hydraulic model, we are in the process, that by we, I mean the town is in the process of acquiring the PCS SWIM, the model, the software itself, and we'll be testing baseline inputs during the calibration that's being performed by the consultant, Corallo Engineering. So that's moving forward on a positive approach. For our WPCF improvements, we are looking to pretty much complete the decision tree part of the design process by mid-May. And our 30% design package we're expecting by the end of June. And last, I'll report out Phase 5, well, East Trunk Line, one positive note on the East Trunk. We have gotten a favorable outcome, at least it appears favorable, with Connecticut Deep on a permitting mechanism that's been held up since last July for dewatering wastewaters to be produced from that project and treated by our POTW. It looks like Deep will be well positioned to issue the permit approval by next week. So
That's good. That's great.
the complicating factor was the PFAS present in the groundwater, as you know. In Phase 5 I&I, we're continuing to move forward on that. We had in situ form on site a couple of weeks ago to spec out the remainder of the investigation work, and that needs to be performed, and we'd like to utilize whatever funds remain in our contract with in situ form if possible. So again, we'll have more information to share next month on that project. So right now we're working on that internally. Looking to bid out the next phase in fall so we can get that work started before winter.
Thank you, Michelle. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Moving into the public comment section. Do we have anyone, members of the public, that would like to speak up and make comments? Hearing none, we can entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.